All right. We're on lesson 39, which means we have 11 more lessons because there are 50 lessons in the book. We're in text A, section 300. And this is pretty much right out of the text of the Bible, but you may have already found where it is, okay? So let's see. Benjamin, can we lean on you to do the first one all the way down to where my mouse is?
Yes, sir. Uk Elthon Balaam Erening Epitane Gain Allah Makaram. I did not come to cast peace on the earth, but a sword.
A sword. So the word Allah is different than day. And here's day. I'll make it into Greek and do this with, it'll be symbol font. Day is but. This is but. And Allah is but. And there's a difference. Day kind of ties it with something leading. And so it's linked in with it. Day reaches back. Now, there's something about day that's kind of important. Do you remember what it was?
Besides it being post-positive?
It's post-positive. That's what I was looking for. All right. So post-positive, post is before, positive is a position, see? So if we'd had day here, day would reach back over here and pull something else into it. Does that make sense? Whereas Allah doesn't. Allah always contrasts two things that are in separate categories, and they're actually generally in mutually exclusive categories. Here's peace, one category, and sword, another category. Those are basically opposite categories. That's what Allah does for you. Does that make sense? That's the difference in the two. But day being post-positive, reach back and pull something else in. Day can reach back as far as 7 words back, and there's examples of it reaching way back, pulling everything into it. So we have a word like, here's another one, Uday. And this is, I'll make it into Greek. I won't have the diacritical markings, but you can see the word without the diacritical markings. And this is U and day combined. They have those two words put together into one word. U is not and day is but. But uday negates something. It continues in negation. So it reaches back and pulls in. It's got the negation. You'll have, he will not do this. And then you'll have uday again, and he's pulling it back in and reaching back over and pulling it back into the continuing the negation. Does that help? Any questions there?
Makes sense.
That's that post-positive what it does. Okay. So that's a good translation. Anybody have anything you want to add? Okay. And about a sword. The word gay, and you just drop the new off and you'll have the basic word, is a confined area, not necessarily the whole earth. It could be just a region like in Judea or in a region like Samaria or something like that. So it wouldn't necessarily be the whole earth itself, but it could be the whole earth. So I hope I'm making sense. So the context has to tell you. Now, was he talking? This course is called Jesus, I believe. Was he talking about bringing peace in the whole earth, or was he talking about peace in Israel? See, he's preaching to people in Israel. It might be that he's limited that to this. I'm not going to get into that, but That's a contextual question. Good. Okay.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
So the usual text, from what I recall, is to bring peace on earth. But Balaam, I did cast. I'm not sure if it has another shade of meaning there or something.
Well, all the different meanings are called glosses, and they're called a gloss. And it can carry a number of different meanings. To cast or throw something down, throw down peace upon the earth, and that would be. We could use similar language in our English language. He threw down a gauntlet. Well, he actually throws it down, see. But here's peace. If Jesus is coming down, he came down from heaven and didn't come to bring peace. How did you translate it again now?
I said to cast.
Well, that's pretty literal. That's literally what it's saying. Okay. All right. So sometimes we get an idiom of the language. I remember talking with people from other countries. When I taught in college, we'd have students from other nations. They'd come in, we'd use some kind of an idiom of some sort, a way of saying something, and they'd kind of look puzzled and I'd have to explain it, what it meant. And sometimes the way we word things is an oddity to other people. And this is probably kind of an oddity for their way of saying it, right? And so you're casting peace. I didn't come to cast peace upon the earth, throw it down. Okay. But I come down to throw down a sword. See? It's like throwing the gauntlet down. Does that make sense what we're saying? And someone back in the old times of nights, you'd throw the gauntlet down, they had to pick it up, and in 2 nights they'd have to fight. Okay. But this could be a similar expression like that as well. That help a bit? All right. This sword is a small sword. It's about the size of a large butcher knife is what it is. All right. The Roman soldiers were not big fellas. They weren't big and large. They were probably 5'6" or 5'7", and they had a short sword, and they always went in teams of 4, quaternion, they call them quaternion, 4 soldiers. Those 4 soldiers would get they would take their shields. I can't draw it up here on the screen. They'd take one shield and where my cursor is, and they'd go over and they'd have another one standing back to back over here. And they'd put the other one over here and the other one over here. They'd stand 4 back to back with their shields interlocking if they were in a battle and surrounded by other enemy troops. That makes sense? And they could protect each other. So they stayed together as a team of 4 soldiers, a quaternion. They were just inseparable. They'd lock their shields together. If one of them got killed, they'd lock their shields into a triangle. If 2 of them got killed, they'd stand back to back and defend each other. That's how they fought. Any questions? I'm sorry I got off the subject, but they had this short sword and they were very efficient with it. They would stick it out through their shield and hit some guy and hit him in the gut. And he'd release his bowels, just turn him loose, cut him through the intestines and kill him that way. All right. Okay, I've got off way too much. All right, let's see. Well, This is a lengthy reading. James, can you take this all the way down to here?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's fine.
Okay, if you don't mind,
All right.
let me do the next one.
Okay. Elthon gar, ikasai, anthropon, kata tu patros autu, kai thugatera, kata tes, metros autes, kai num fame, kata tes, pentheras autes. And I translated that, for I came to separate a man from his father, and a woman against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
Say woman, or did you say, did you call this a woman here?
And a woman, yes.
Uh,
And it could be wife.
How about a daughter?
Oh, is it, my screen just went out. Just a minute. Came to separate a father from,
Daughter.
oh, and yes, a father. Okay, yes, it is daughter. Excuse me. I mistranslated it.
Okay.
A daughter against her mother.
Man against his father, and the daughter against the mother, and the what? The daughter-in-law against the what?
The daughter-in-law, just a minute, against her mother-in-law.
Yeah, against her mother-in-law. This is right out of the text of the Bible. It may be word for word out of the Bible. Okay. We're getting to that point that we're just translating scripture. Okay. That's I didn't look it up, but it sounds just about like what the Bible reads. All right. So he came to send or to separate, to break a dichotomy, okay, to make a division, say, to separate between a man against his father and a daughter against the mother, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. So this, how would you explain this? I mean, of course, we're just doing the Greek here, but how would we explain this? Jesus came to bring peace, didn't come to bring peace. I thought he's peace on earth, goodwill to men.
The remnant is small. We're not meant to have fellowship with all men. It's not a matter of fraternal fellowship. It's a matter of godly fellowship.
I believe that's it. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. It's our fellowship is with those who have the like precious faith in it. That's and are living according to the teaching of the scriptures. All right. Any questions there?
Yeah, one, if you don't mind. Why do you think he says man against his father and then instead of son,
I don't know.
daughter against his mother or her mother?
Is that how the text of the Bible reads?
Maybe not. I'm not sure.
But a man probably would be a son here, although this word here could be it's generic, that refer to a man or a woman, but the context has to tell you, and probably because of the way he sets it up, it's a man. How do I know that? Because I've got my highlight on it. Can you see it? Where I've got my mouse. Tell me why that's a man, not a woman.
And then two is
That's all.
It's masculine.
pronoun. It's a masculine pronoun, see?
Yeah.
So that's probably why that it's that way. I'm not even sure whether it's the word son or man, but it's probably a man that he uses.
I just looked it up. It does say man instead of son.
But he has that, if you have that masculine pronoun, it rules out the daughter, and that would, and the father of him. And so that would be a son against the father, okay? So that would have that be interpreted. Man, and I would put a man, and I'd put a male man, a son, not M-A-I-L, but M-A-L-E. So a son. All right. Okay, any question there? Does that help? So we know it's masculine because of the masculine pronoun. And masculine, here this is genitive masculine with father. That goes with father, but this pronoun goes with the man up here. Okay. Now, why is this in the accusative case? Help me out here. Anthropon. Why is it an accusative case? Got it highlighted in my mouse. Put my mouse on it. So you know what I'm talking about.
Does it fall in the participle and indirect discourse?
Yeah. Well, this is not a participle right here. This is an infinitive.
It's a direct object.
Okay, this an infinitive takes its subject in what case?
Accusative.
The case.
There you go. Yeah. He cast that. Oh, okay.
So this verb here will take its subject in the nominative case. It's a finite verb. But this infinitive, say, I came, this has its own subject with it. Remember, all the verbs do, all finite verbs have their own subject.
Yeah.
I came
Okay.
to cause, to bring, to separate.
Right.
To separate it. All right. And so the man is separated. And so he is doing the separating. Jesus is not doing the separating. The man is doing the separating.
Okay.
Because who makes the decision of how we're going to live? God wants us to live right, but who makes that decision?
We do.
We do. We have to make that decision. And so when we make that decision how we're going to live, we become the one doing the action of separating, bringing that separation about. Because we decided to serve the Lord and they're not going to serve the Lord. This is obvious. There will be no separation if both are Christians. But if one's a Christian and one's not a Christian, then we have separation. And the one that made the choice to serve the Lord, he caused the separation because of his decision to serve the Lord. And his parents, in this case, his father's not doing it, or the daughter and her mother. One. Now it might be that this person, this son, chooses not to serve the Lord, and the father chooses to serve the Lord. Does that make sense? In that case, the son, by choosing not to serve the Lord, he brings about the separation. So somebody brings a separation about. And I think here, the son, and the son is the one doing it here. All right. Because this is genitive. Okay, genitive case here, patrosis. Okay. Does that help? All right. Now then, let's go down from Kai, where the mouse is, to right here. If you would. Bobby, could you do that for us? Right there. That translate that if you would. Right.
And your mic's on mute, Bobby.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking. Kai oi ekroi tu anthropu oi ke ekoi autu. And the enemies of the man is shall be his household.
Okay.
I put in shall be. I wanted to put is, and the enemies of the man is of his household.
Yeah. Now, the enemies, why is this shall be, or why is it that way? What makes it that way? What case is the word enemy? Look at the article.
Okay.
Yeah. What case is it?
Masculine,
It's masculine gender, but it's what case?
nominative.
Nominative case, nominative plural.
Yeah.
So it's masculine nominative plural.
That's
Two to prove is what case?
Genitive.
Genitive. It's
of the enemies.
possessional relationship, see?
Mhm.
In what case is this right over here, this word? It's the article.
It's nominative,
Nominative plural,
nominative plural.
just like the ekthoi. And so this, let me illustrate this. We could say, and I'm going to use our present president as an example. I keep forgetting his name. I don't want to know his name. All right.
Joe Biden.
Go back.
Okay. Joe Biden, president of the United States, went to England. Okay. All right. So Joe Biden is the subject, and president of the United States, president is a predicate nominative describing more about who Joe Biden is. Does that make sense? And so a predicate nominative does that. It renames and gives more information. Well, we could say James Taylor, father of Benjamin Taylor. Say, so I told you his name is James Taylor, and then I told you some more about him. So right here now, these enemies are described further, and that's why they say shall be, because it's predicate nominative. It's the same thing. This person here, this predicate nominative, let me do this. It's trying to tell me I got a spelling error. Okay. Correct the spelling. Sorry about that. All right. I'm sorry. I can't get it to, let me highlight it. This right here is a predicate nominative describing who this enemy is, the enemies, who the enemies are. Does that make sense? Because of the case, their nominative case, predicate nominatives. That help a bit?
Sure.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Okay, Benjamin, can you start here and go down to Axios at the end where my mouse is? I'll highlight it. All of that right there, if you would.
Hophilon, patera metera, huper, uk, estin mu axios. The one loving father or mother above me is not worthy of me.
Okay. That's pretty literal. What about this me, me? What is there something about it that's a little different? You gave a literal translation. Me, may. If we added just me, that's accusative case, and that'll be accusative case, and that'll be the normal accusative case for me. But ours has a may.
Emphatic.
It's emphatic, isn't it? It's emphatic. When it has that extra epsilon at the beginning of it, it makes it emphatic. And so what he's saying, you'll see that. And I don't know how to make it emphatic in English. If I'm reading it and I know it's emphatic and I'm teaching a class, I'll just say this pronoun is very emphatic. And so I want to say the one loving father or mother more than me ought, okay, not he is of me, he's not worthy of me, more than me. And I just raised my voice a bit. We could put it in bold print or something like that. You see, we do it with bold print or italicized or underline it, but the Greeks did it with the words. So it's very hard to lose the emphasis. The emphasis stays with the words themselves rather than whether it's bold print or whatever. See, if it had it bold print like we do in English to make it emphatic, then when they copied it, if they didn't make it just real clear bold print, we'd lose the emphasis. Does that make sense? I think God, in his wisdom, this is one way of emphasizing. A predicate nominative also is emphatic. It doesn't come back over here, a predicate nominative, it's emphatic. That's good rendering, very good rendering. Okay. James, can you do the last one?
Yes, sir. Kaiho philon huion he thukatera huper emeuk estin mu axios. And I translated that, the one loving son or daughter above me is not worthy of me.
Okay. And above or greater than me, above. And our prefix hyper comes out of this word. Preposition doesn't, hyper. And so we told some kid is hyperactive, or you have hyperthyroidism or something, hyper this. That's a term you might run into in medical terminology. So the one loving son or daughter. Now he's turned away from the children. The last sentence was the children, their relationship. Now then this one is the parents. So the family relationships are very important, but they're not more important than serving God. If it comes down to my family won't serve God and I have to, then I have to bring that's caused a division between me and my family. So that has to happen. Any questions? Now, what is the direct object? This is me is a being verb. Estin is a me. So estin is a me. And so that's a me. Estin is from a me. Let me get back up here. Estin comes from a me. Estin, or a me, takes its object in the accusative case. All right. Whereas a being verb takes its object in the accusative case. I'm sorry, in the nominative case. I'm sorry, did I say accusative? Nominative case. Takes its object in the nominative case. So a predicate nominative, say, that's where we would use that. All right. Okay. Now, do you have any questions? Now, do you want to try some of these down here? Or you want to go on to the next I corrected, we found some spelling errors in the transcription, went through them and modified them. I sent you files earlier. I think I thought I sent them last week, but don't remember whether I did or not. Okay. Any questions?
There was one of them that I did not get at all. If you don't mind.
Which one?
Number 5.
Okay. That is, what do you think that is?
Had you asked me 2 weeks ago when I did the homework, I would have known, but now I can't remember.
Okay, it's a genitive absolute. There's your infinite participle. That's genitive participle. Genitive case here. Okay. Okay. Now, let's go back and see what that word is. Finished, ended, or died. Okay. There could be the finished. The daughter finished, was dying. And the mother what? What is the mother doing?
Fasted.
She what?
Fasted, what I put.
Was fasting. The mother was fasting. I thought we had that up here. Maybe it was in a prior lesson, I think, wasn't it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we had fasting in a prior lesson. And so while the daughter was dying, the mother was fasting. The mother fasted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay, any others you want to look at? Now, give you some, probably already told you this more than once, but I think sometimes you don't get 100% of what you hear, okay? Unless you're just a raven, 200 IQ, 200 IQ, 200. I got an IQ of 200 or something like that, and but you're just a rare person. So I'm going to repeat something. I probably already said this before, but it won't hurt to repeat it. This Bethlehem right here is not a Greek word. It's a transliterated Hebrew word. Is that clear? And so we got a problem with this. And the word Jesus is the same way. Jesus is not a Greek word. It's a transliterated English, Greek, Hebrew word. So these words frequently will not have all of their forms to be declined. In other words, I'll tell you, Jesus, this form right here, it looks like genitive form. You can tell it's genitive because the article. Does that make sense? It's the "u" ending. But the problem with it is the word Jesus, the Jesus, doesn't have all of the forms for all the cases. So this form we have right here, Yesu, will also function as the dative instrumental locative form. Is that clear? So how would you know what it is, which it is? Frequently, what will happen, in order to tell you if it's critical, the article will be with it. In this case, this could be dative instrumental locative, but the article tells me it's genitive or ablative. Does that make sense what we're saying? Jerusalem isn't fully declined. Bethlehem is probably not fully declined. All right. Now, this form of it, it has to be dative instrumental locative, or probably not even dative, because N epsilon nu would go with either the locative or the instrumental. So it's one of those two cases. But if you look at Bethlehem, it may not have all the forms. So that's one of the things you run into. Foreign words don't always have a full declension. You don't have all the forms. And so frequently, in this case, we don't have to worry about what form it is, because the preposition with it tells us it's either instrumental or locative, doesn't it? So we don't have to know what it is. That tells me. But over here, we don't have to know whether this form here is genitive ablative. It's also the same spelling for dative instrumental and locative for Jesus. But we got it figured out here because we have an article with it. So I know it's either genitive or ablative. Context has to tell me which one of those it is. You'll run into that from time to time. And so Maria is Mary, and it may not be fully declined. Don't know whether it is or not. I'd have to study it, but I know Jesus is not Jesus is not fully declined. So if you get into if you look up Jesus in it in an analytical lexicon, it probably will tell you dative instrumental, genitive ablative, dative instrumental locative. It may tell you all four, or it may tell you genitive or dative, and they won't have the 8 cases. They'll just 5. Most of them are 5 case lexicons, or most are all 5 cases. Does that help a bit? One of the things that I hope I've been through that with you before, but if I hadn't, it's something that is very important. You can run into it. Because you say, well, this form, how do I know when I look at this, Bethlehem, how do I know that is locative case? Or how do I know it's not a nominative case? You know, by the article. I'm going to look it up in my analytical concordance right now, just to see what it says for Bethlehem. Okay. Just look it up and see what they say. Beta, Ada. I'm sorry, I'm taking some time here. It gives it as, it says, it shows a feminine article, so it's a feminine noun. It says Bethlehem is indeclinable. It may not have, but may only have one form. I don't see any other given there for it. I bet it doesn't have any other forms. It's just that form.
How do you see the beginning of that statement or sentence as being translated?
Okay. It's, remember this sentence here, 3?
Yes, sir, that up to Bethlehem. How do you see that being translated? You said that's the genitive or ablative of Jesus?
Yeah, that's genitive. I think it's genitive. I think it's the genitive absolute. Jesus was being begotten in Bethlehem.
Okay.
The old Magoi, wise men or magi from Anatolia is east, from the east, and that's ablative. Okay.
Yeah, I've got the rest of it. The first part, hearing genitive absolute makes sense. I figure that's where you're headed.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. All right.
And any thoughts on number 4? I know we're running out of time.
That's all right. We'll go to the next lesson next week.
Okay.
Okay. Or we're doing the prophets, the fathers, against they were the works they were doing the fathers. They're doing the works of the Father. They're doing the works of the fathers are doing the works of the prophets. And here's the subject way at the end of the sentence. So it's kind of emphatic. According to their own, according to their own. This is the participle here. All right. This is poieo from to do.
Right.
So they're doing. I'll have to look at that one. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble with it.
No sweat. Didn't want to throw it at you the last second here.
I should have had it ready. Okay, I'm supposed to be the teacher.
No problem.
On the kata ta'ata, I saw that it was in the same way, or according to the same way the fathers are doing to the prophets.
Okay. The fathers are the subject, and that is epoion is a third person plural. Okay, imperfect. Since they were doing to the father, they were doing these works to the fathers. Your fathers were doing the works to the prophets. They probably were persecuting the prophets. Okay, in this. So that's probably in this context what they're doing. You probably need some more context to get the full trust of it. I think they were doing to the prophets. The fathers were doing these works to the prophets. Kata could be against these same works. You were doing your fathers were doing the same works to the prophets, to the prophets. That could be good or bad if they're depending on what context what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I don't know if I've helped you, but we're ready to change classes, but let's do the next lesson next week. Subjunctive mood. This is a different mood. And so be sure to read it and kind of get a feel for it. That'll be lesson 39, and we'll have 11 lessons counting that lesson. And we'll be through with the class. This is nearly 2 years of this level Greek that we're going through here, right? So be aware of that. So we're getting way beyond what was normally a normal first year Greek. Okay, fine. Okay, we'll close right now. I'll quit recording.